guarantee you that amount of money every month. You can manage everything, especially if you live far away. Of course, you are running a risk of having to fix these problems all yourself, yet the tenant done it. So that is definitely a great bonus to just push you into the property investing journey. Welcome everyone to another video. My name is Hago, aka Hags, and today I'll be comparing the pros and cons of both a standard regular buy-to-let versus an Airbnb or short-term let properties. So I'm going to start off with a buy-to-let, residential buy-to-let to be exact, and the pros of it. Starting off with the one thing that everyone wants to hear, the regular rent. Being able to have one tenant, one family, live at that property and rent that out for a full year or even more depending on the contract you have. And of course, speaking of contracts, you can deal with an estate agent and they can manage everything for a certain fee per month, but also you never have to go to the property. You can have guarantors involved for their side of things. You do financial checks, you do guaranteed rent and legal costs. For some reason, the tenants don't want to pay that month or the next month or just stop paying in general, you will be guaranteed your rent because you have that cover. And that's exactly what I do with my properties. I make sure I have rent and legal involved, a contract involved, that if the tenant doesn't pay for a certain amount of time or the year or whatever, I guarantee you that amount of money every month. But not only that, these tenants are possibly a family, or there's only a couple, or they're a young couple. Where I'm trying to go with that is the property will not be in a state. There will not be problems, there will not be any damages in the property. Of course they have a deposit that you've taken, but it's just that hassle of having to get that deposit off them, fix that problem, which will take another week or two. Of course, if they don't leave, you just do another year, you follow through, etc. But if they do want to leave at the end of the year, which I have done with my last tenants, purely because they were looking to move house, I'm a great landlord, I try my best. But there was a few things that popped up with the carpet ripping off and just a few little things. Nothing major, it's just time consuming, that's the best way of putting it. But because you're guaranteed the rent, you're guaranteed that service from an estate agent who can manage everything, especially if you live far away. And of course, if you have other commitments, such as your full-time job or you're starting a business, then this is such a hands-off and a nice regular income. So now moving on to the cons of a standard buy-to-let. With the high interest rates we have currently, your rent isn't going to be as large as it would be, for example, a HMO or a Airbnb. So things become a lot tighter, but of course you can do a variable, or if you're cash, you shouldn't worry too much about these things. But you can do a variable, let it ride out for that year or two, depending on how long the interest rates are like this. But it's going to fix up. Everything will start to level out like this, and then you'll be perfectly fine to actually fix in if you are having a mortgage in place. But of course that is the con, because you're purchasing a property, you're putting all that money into it and you're not turning over a good enough amount of money. And of course that leads to, if there are problems in the property that are at your cost, because it's a natural cause or whatever the wording is for that, then you have to cover that cost. And my final con is the void periods. Yes, you can have a month or so, month or two even, of a void period. I know rental demands are always high really anyway, but by the time they move in, by the time you pay your agent fee, their beginning fee, count yourself as 1 month missing of the year when it comes to renting that property out. So now moving on to Airbnb / short-term lets, and of course the one you want to hear is a huge income per month. Of course this comes at a cost where you don't know when the next tenant will come. Of course, nowadays a lot of people are going down the route of staying in Airbnb, short-term lets, etc. It does benefit everyone now. You'll also be targeting a large demographic, so people all over the world. If you're purchasing in an area which has tourists coming in, then this is perfect for you, because a lot of them will be coming from other countries, especially during the summer periods, or even for a work event or something to do with work. They can come and stay, of course, at your Airbnb or even the short-term let. And as well as that, there are a lot of sites you can list these on to gain as much traction as possible for people to come and stay at your short-term let. So the one thing I really like actually about Airbnb and short-term let is you can do the rent-to-rent strategy. I've not done this myself. I've heard things about it, I've heard good things about it, but from personal experience I can't give you a 100% guarantee. But if you are just starting, you don't have too much money, then you can look to rent out other landlords' properties and then stick them of course on Airbnb or booking.com, etc. So you can go down that route to start the property journey. So that is definitely a great bonus to just push you into the property investing journey to start off as. And then of course, to finalize the pros of an Airbnb and short-term let, I like the fact that because you don't have a fixed contract with someone, you can look to sell that property whenever you need to. There's always that pro as well. So if you want to just get rid of that property in the middle of the year, you don't need to think about a buy-to-let residential property where you're fixed in that time. Of course you can sell it with that, but realistically, you're only targeting investors at that point. You don't target a larger demographic of homeowners as well as investors. The cons with Airbnb/short-term lets is the fact that it's a lot more hands-on, unless of course you can find a managing agent to do this all, but they would charge a larger rate than a buy-to-let estate agent to do that for you. Because of course there's a lot more to it, such as the cleaning, where to put the key, the new tenants coming in, making sure the property's to standard. So of course there's all these things you have to consider. And also speaking of the property condition, you will get more problems with your property, of course, because you're having so many different people coming in and out. Of course, you are running the risk of having to fix these problems all yourself, yet the tenant done it, or of course you don't have any evidence of this stuff. And then of course, where are you going to put your key? Will you have a key box at the front of your property? But it's one of those that it's a bit of a risk. So you'd rather possibly move that somewhere where it's slightly hidden, and of course whoever does stay, you can tell them of course where it is, but having the key put in that place and make sure as soon as anyone leaves, they lock the door and of course they put it back in there. So if you do live far away, it does become a bit more challenging, but I know there are a lot of companies out there who are willing to manage it for you. And of course, if you would like, you can list it all, etc. and you just let the managing agent know that they will be staying in these dates, this date, etc. But there we have it. There's my pros and cons of both a buy-to-let for a standard residential home versus an Airbnb/short-term let. Let me know down below which strategy you prefer, which strategy you think I would like to go down that route, or you've had experience in there. I'm very 50-50. I think it all depends on where the property is, what type of property it is, and how the style of a property is. Will you be doing it up to the point where it's all glamorous, where a short-term let is perfect for that? Or is the property located in a high demand area where there are a lot of tourists or a lot of people looking to just stay short-term for work, etc. There's all these factors you have to consider, but both of them are amazing strategies. Both of them have their pros and cons, and there we have it. I've been Hago, aka Hags. Don't forget the name, and I'll catch you in the next video.